Hello and welcome to a special discussion for World Toilet Day. November 19th marks World Toilet Day, an official United Nations International Observance Day to inspire action to tackle the global sanitation crisis and to raise awareness of the crucial role that sanitation plays in reducing disease and creating healthier communities. Thank you so much, Jack and Mark, for joining us. Jack, you have been working for over 23 years on toilets across the globe. You're also called Mr. Toilet. You have been widely recognized for your contribution to the world of wash and have emerged as a successful sanitation advocate. What are your reflections on this year's World Toilet Day?
I think that this year World Toilet Day is the most important because of the COVID-19. Never before has hygiene awareness in the history of mankind been so high. Everybody is now very concerned about washing hands, about keeping safe distance, about not contaminating somebody else with the virus. So I think they suddenly realized that hygiene and sanitation is life-saving. Even without COVID, 2 million people die of diarrhea every year. And we need to take care of the pandemic, but we also have to take care of this long-term pandemic, which is polluting the river with the feces and the lack of toilet.
Mark, like even Jack said, diarrhea. So children, are more susceptible to this, and you've been working with the children in school and they also call you the toilet warrior. What is the real story behind that, Mark?
Yeah, so the story behind it is a complete accident. In fact, I was in India on business about 10 years ago, and I met some young men who lived in Dharavi, the big slum in Mumbai. And they took me to visit a school in a community, and there were no toilets in the school, and so all the girls had dropped out. And I decided that I needed to learn more about this issue. And in fact, it was not long after this I met Jack. Jack has been one of the big influences in my life in the last 10 years. And at that time, I was nobody in the toilet world, but Jack took time to have lunch with me. And I guess for me, the journey began at that time. And then I started working with some Rotary clubs in Nasik and in Delhi and in Pune and a couple of other places, focusing on schools and toilets in schools. And in fact, Jack's comment about this World Toilet Day being so important is absolutely spot on, because, the hand washing lessons that we give to the children in the schools is ultimately going to save their lives and the lives of their families.
Mark, why don't you tell us your experience of building toilets in the schools of India?
Our first opportunity to build toilets in a school came again by accident during a business meeting with a colleague in India who told me that he and his Rotary Club had a relationship with a school just outside Nasik, which had 500 children and no toilets. And so I got together with some people in Rotary in Australia, and we gathered some money together, us and the guys in India. And before we knew it, we were building toilets in the school. It was just 15 toilets in the first school. This is about 6 years ago we built the very first toilet. So we'd been planning for a couple of years before that. But so that project reached 500 kids. But then the whole thing took off, and I had a lot of advice from Jack and from others in the sector, and we've now reached well over 100,000, well over 1 lakh children in India through our projects.
Coming to you, Jack, from your experience, how can cleanliness solve the problem of health and the economic crisis of a country?
I grew up in Singapore when we were a very poor country. I was born 1957. Singapore GDP was just $500 a year. And we don't have money to pay for hospital and doctor and nurses. So the only way we can solve the health problem is to prevent the disease from happening. And that is when we get clean water and proper sanitation. The government invests a lot in water and sanitation and hygiene. And those outbreaks of cholera, typhoid fever, they all went away. And this is how a country can grow from third world to first world in 25 years because once you have healthy people, you can have productive people, you train them to go to work, get skill, and upgrade themselves. And every year salaries increase all the time. And Singapore is now about the 4th highest per capita in the world. And I can see that this same solution can be applied to any country, India, Africa, China, Latin America. Once you prevent, it's cheaper than cure.
Mark, you yourself are the president of the Rotary Club of Box Hill Central in Australia, and have partnered with the Rotary Clubs in India as well in some very significant projects. Can you tell us a little about these projects?
So our biggest project to date has been with a Rotary Club in Delhi called the Rotary Club of Delhi Ashoka. And we managed to gather enough money together to work in about 30 schools in and around the greater Delhi area. And that was just one project. And that project alone reached close to 50,000 children directly and indirectly. A lot of our work is, of course, infrastructure, building toilets, but we've learned recently, and in fact Jack kind of alluded to this before, we've been learning that actually far more important than the toilets is the education component. Building toilets for people and then walking away doesn't work, because if people grow up in an environment where they don't know about using toilets, how are they going to know? Someone needs to teach them about toilet use, about hand washing, about general personal hygiene. For the girls, someone needs to talk to them about personal hygiene when they're menstruating, so menstrual hygiene management. All these things are a part of the program.
So I think it's about the holistic approach, what you're saying. We need to look at it not just building, it's also about, behavior change and getting, the message across at a young age. Jack, you worked in many countries. You just told us about how Singapore has turned things around. What are the learnings that India can take from some other countries as well?
I think the most important thing is to make toilets something that they aspire to have. Because you see, when the poor don't have money, they eventually buy cell phones. So where did the money come from? The money comes when they want to have it. They prioritize the cell phone. So if you start to prioritize the toilet, then how do you change that behavior? I think the driving of demand for toilet as something aspirational, as a status symbol, as a lifestyle choice, this is the job that we have to do now.
Mark, you've been working in India for over a decade. What gets you to keep coming back here?
Oh gosh, your country is beyond wonderful. I have so many friends in India. I love the food. I love the incredibly diverse culture. I love the kids and the teachers we've been meeting in the schools, the enthusiasm that we're greeted with when we come over to work with them to improve their future. They are so receptive to this, and that combination of the truly receptive population in the communities we've worked with and the wonderful friends I've made there. I don't stay in hotels anymore in India. I now stay with friends there. I feel like a local when I'm in India. I learned some years ago that I don't need to say, can I go to the toilet? I just put my little finger up and everyone knows I need to go to the toilet. And I guess, look, I'm missing India this year terribly, because I visited India 3 or 4 times a year, every year for the last 10 years. And this year, sadly, because of COVID, it's not possible.
So before you all go, Jack, can you give me your Swasthya mantra? Means what is your mantra for life, the health mantra?
Sanitation is the cheapest medicine in the world. The toilet is the happiest room in the world. When you are not happy, you go to the toilet, you come out, you are a happy person. So always have a happy room in your house and make sure toilets are everywhere whenever you need it.
I guess I would add to Jack's comment that hand washing and personal hygiene are so absolutely crucial. It saves lives on a scale we can't even imagine. And I think if you can combine that clean toilet and clean life, that combination is just unbeatable.
Thank you so much, Jack and Mark, for joining us, for giving us your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.